Hello, today I am showing you how to make soap without lye. Now, the only way to make soap without lye is to buy what is called melt and pour. Now, you can get this in craft stores, Michael's, Hobby Lobby. You can order it online, but this is soap that is already soap. It's actually a soap base. And so the lye has already been used to turn into soap, and so you don't need gloves or anything to use this soap. It's perfectly safe. You can touch this soap, it's perfectly safe, and it won't harm you because the lye has already been turned into soap. So if you want to make soap without lye, go buy melt and pour base. Now, a silicone mold is the best kind of mold to use to make soap without lye. If you want to make bars of soap, a loaf pan like this is better. If you want to make little hand soaps, you could use these silicone muffin, molds, I guess. This is the big silicone muffin liner that you can use. Or you can make bars. There's just tons and tons of different molds that you can use. Thrift stores are a great place to find all kinds of fun molds. Now, to find out how much your silicone mold holds so that you know how much soap you will need, take an empty mold, put it on your scale, make sure it says 0, and add water to the height that you want your soap to go. So I'm filling mine all the way to the top. So I know that this is 37.6 ounces. It's probably 38 ounces, okay? So I'm going to need 38 ounces of soap. Now, most soap bases, most melt and pour soap bases come in 2-pound containers. So that's 32 ounces. So if I want to fill this clear to the top, I'm going to need just a little bit more than 2 pounds. So what I'm going to do is cut up my soap base. Now, I'm making a peach soap today. I got this fragrance and it does not work in cold processed soap. Some fragrances in cold processed soap do not hold their fragrance, and this is one of them, but it smells divine. So I use it in either my homemade soap without lye, also known as melt and pour, or my hot processed soaps. So I'm going to use a combination of clear and white because I am making a peach design today. Now I have these scraps left over from another soap. So I'm going to use up my scraps first and just cut your soap into pieces so that when you put it in the microwave to melt, it will melt quicker. So I'm going to need 20 ounces for my base color, which is going to be peach. Okay, we're right about there. I'm going to put this in the microwave and start melting it. Okay, so I started 1.5 minutes melting my soap. So now I'm going to keep going in the microwave in 30-second increments and stirring in between to get the rest of this melted. Okay, I have microwaved this in 30-second increments, and I have one little tiny piece that didn't get melted here yet, so we're just going to stir until it gets melted. Now, you want to make sure your temperature is correct. Mine is 180 degrees. My fragrance right here says do not make it higher than 200 degrees, so I am good on my temperature. You want to make sure every little bit is melted because if not, your mica will not get mixed. Now this is soap, body safe soap colorant, okay? It's called mica. And my bottom layer is going to be a deep, rich, peachy color, okay? Now, what you do is you start stirring in your color. I'm spraying it with rubbing alcohol, and that will break up the colorant. Breaks up all the little clumps and gets it thoroughly mixed. Ooh, that's looking nice. Okay, then I'm weighing out my fragrance for this portion. Now you want about 1/2 to 1 ounce of fragrance for each pound of soap, okay? Oh, that smells so good. Oh, that smells so good. Okay, see how pretty that is? Wow, I'm loving that. Now I can see right here, I'm making 2 loaves and I have 24 ounces, which is what I wanted, of soap for my bottom color. So I'm gonna go down to 12 ounces in this one and 12 ounces in this one. Okay, got half of it in there. Then you're gonna spray with rubbing alcohol. That breaks all the bubbles. It makes a super smooth top. Now we're gonna do the next side. Something did not go right there. So I must have looked at my ounces wrong. So I'm just gonna move a little bit over here. It's no big deal. This really is not an exact science, guys. It's not gonna hurt anything. I just like my loaves to look the same, just for the bars to look the same. Okay, now we're gonna spray the tops. And we're gonna let this sit until it gets hardened, and then we're gonna make our next layer. Okay, so I've melted my white, and I'm adding my fragrance. Don't want this to be too hot. I am right at 160, and I think that will work. My bottom has set up now, so see how nice that has set up. So now I am going to pour, yep, I'm at 150, so I'm gonna pour this. So let's see, I've got right at 2 cups. So I'm going to pour half at each one, just about right. Spray the bubbles. Then I'm going to melt, while this is setting just a bit, I'm going to melt my clear and do another of a swirl of orange. So I forgot to measure. Okay, so I'm melting the rest of my clear here. I think I have enough color left from the first layer that I don't need to add more color, but I made a huge mistake. So I should have, before I put this white layer on, I should have sprayed my peach layer with rubbing alcohol so the 2 layers stick together. So I hope they will stick together. If not, what I will do is peel the layers apart, remelt, put it in here, and then put the top onto the bottom. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Okay, so it looks like I got all my chunks out. Little warm, but you want it a little warm. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break the top here, just like so, because what I want to do is swirl in my peach. So I'm at 1.5, so I need about 3/4, okay? So here we go. I'm gonna go in. Let's see where I'm at there. Okay, need just a little bit more. Make sure you hit the edges. Just a little bit. Okay, now I'm gonna do this side. Ooh, I think that's gonna be pretty. Let's see, we're about getting close. Get the same amount in each one. All right. Yep, doing good on temperature. So I'm going to spray this, and now I'm going to let this sit up for about another hour, and then we will put our top layer on. Okay, I've got my top layer melted here. Got one little chunk here. Now this is going to be a solid white layer, so I don't have to get every little chunk. That one I probably will get down, but if you have a little chunk, like I had a small one, it's okay. Now let me show you. This is fairly firm, okay? It's not completely set up, but it is fairly set up. So we're going to spray it with rubbing alcohol. This helps the next layer to adhere to the soap, and just to make sure, or I mean, you want it really saturated so it will set up and adhere to the next layer. Okay, here we go, our final layer. Now you don't want this too hot. My temperature is 160, so that should be good, so it doesn't melt through the bottom layer here, okay? So, ooh, how'd I do that? Just about perfect. Oops. Okay, I'm going to remelt that little tiny bit there. Okay, I got the last little bit melted. We're going to pour it into this one. And now we're going to let this harden, and then we are going to cut it. All right, I have let my soap set up. Now, I do not let mine get completely 100% cooled. It is just slightly warm. Why? Because it's easier to cut, I think, when it's just barely slightly warm. Now, we're going to test here. So this is the layer right here where I forgot to spray the rubbing alcohol. Ooh, that looks like that's on there. Good. Yep, looks like the layers are staying. Okay. So now we're going to give it a cut. Now, to cut your homemade soap without lye, also known as melt and pour soap, you're going to stand above your soap and push straight down. Now, I want to make sure that I get super even cuts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure here every inch and put just a little tick first. Then I can make sure I have each bar that is an inch. Okay, we're going to do it again here. There we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going straight across, and I'm straight on top, looking straight from above, pushing straight down. Wow, that's a pretty even cut. Oh, look how pretty that is. Oh, wow. That turned out a really pretty swirl. I like that. Okay. Okay, so remember how I forgot to spray my bottom layer with rubbing alcohol? Well, it did fall apart. So you can see here, this layer was really tight on there, but this one just popped off. But don't worry, we can save this. What are we going to do? We're going to remelt this and just start all over. Okay, so while I am waiting for my bottom layer to melt, I'm cutting off all the top because I ran out of white. So in order to have a white top still, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the white, I'm going to lose my swirl. So I'll just have a dark bottom layer, medium, peach, middle layer, and then a white top layer. Now I don't have to add more fragrance because this isn't going to get above 200 degrees. So just don't overheat it and you won't have to add more fragrance. Okay, so I'm spraying to get rid of the bubbles. And then I'm setting my rubbing alcohol on top here so I don't forget to spray it beforehand. Sprayed it very thoroughly. Let me just spray it more thoroughly just to make sure I got every little crevice there. Okay. So then we're going to spray the top with more rubbing alcohol. I'm going to let that set up. I have my white melted and I am thoroughly moistening the top with rubbing alcohol. Okay, now we're going to let this harden and then we will cut it again. All right, you can see how pretty that turned out. I think I'm glad this failed because honestly, I like the second batch better than the first. So let's get it measured. Okay, now remember what you're going to do is you're going to line it up with your lines and you're going to push straight down. And that is how you make soap without lye, even when it fails. Don't despair, you can have an easy recovery. I love how that turned out, and oh my goodness, it smells divine. Summer is on the way.